Today, 1 minute. Today we are going to discuss about Wheatstone's Bridge. Okay. Today we are going to discuss about Wheatstone's Bridge. Okay. In this one, we will be describing about four resistors. Okay, four resistors connected in the shape of EMF is there. Okay. This is this arrangement of four resistors, okay, which are arranged in the shape of a diamond. Okay, this is a diamond shape, which are, or a kite shape, which is arranged in the shape of a rhombus. Okay, we can say that it is a rhombus shape. Okay, which are arranged in a rhombus shape, and to the opposite diagonals. Okay, to the opposite vertices or diagonally, a galvanometer will be connected, and to the other opposite vertices we will be connecting an EMF also. Okay, so if we are drawing this in another manner, it will be almost like this. Here one resistance will be there, here another resistance will be there, third one and fourth one. Okay, four resistors are connected as the sides of a rhombus. Okay, and diagonally we will be connecting one galvanometer as well as one EMF power supply also. Okay, instead of understanding easily, we are taking this diagonal to the outside. That is why we are connected it like this on the outside of this rhombus. Okay, and one galvanometer will be connected to the opposite side, opposite vertex. Okay, it is clear now. This arrangement is called Wheatstone's bridge. Okay, Wheatstone's bridge. In this one, you can see four resistors will be there: R1, R2, R3, and R4. And by applying this EMF using a key will be connected to this. When this key is closed, a current I will be flowing. Okay, a current I will be flowing through this one. At the point, it will be split into two. So applying Kirchhoff's junction rule, this I will be split into I1 and I2. And at reaching the point B, this I2 will be split into I4 and IG. And at reaching this point D, this IG and I1 will be combining to form I3. Okay, and after reaching at point C, this I4 and I3 will be combining to form our I. Okay, and it will be completing the circuit. Okay, this is our Wheatstone's bridge. Okay, now if we are seeing these junctions, that is our first junction, that is A, we can write that at A, I is equal to I1 plus I2. Right now at this junction, A is equal to I will be equal to I1 and I2. Okay, and at junction B, at this junction B, this I2 will be split into IG and I4. I2 will be split into IG plus I4. At junction D, at this junction D, this IG and I1 will be combining to form I3. That is, at G, IG plus I1 will be giving you I3. Okay, and at C, we will be getting this I3 and I4 will be combining to form I3 plus I4 will be combining to give I. Okay, now what we are going to do is that we will be applying our loop rule, Kirchhoff's loop rule, into these loops, this loop as well as this loop. Okay, and we will be finding out the relation between these resistance. Okay, that is what we are going to do here. If you are considering the loop ABDA, that is this loop. If you are considering this loop, that is ABDA, the loop or the mesh ABDA, you can see that this is our order. So if we are starting from A, there is a resistance. So the potential drop at resistance to R2, that will be equal to I2 R2. And from there we are going and we are coming here. So here we will be seeing a galvanometer. Okay, a galvanometer is connected across the ends B and D. Okay, I have told you whenever you are introducing any component to an electrical circuit, it will be having its own resistance value. Okay, so if you are connecting a galvanometer, means this galvanometer will be having its own resistance. Okay, let the resistance of galvanometer be G. Okay, let the resistance of galvanometer B is equal to G. So if you are coming through this loop, I2 R2 plus this galvanometer will be having a resistance of G. So the potential drop at the galvanometer will be equal to Ig into G plus Ig into G. And coming from there, if we reach at this point, here there is our other resistor, that is R1. But this current I1 is flowing in the opposite direction of the loop. We are taking the loop in the clockwise direction, but this current is going in the anti-clockwise direction. So this will be a minus. So minus of I1 R1 will be equal to, is there any EMF or any voltage supplies? No, nothing is there. It is here only. So in this loop ABDA, there is no voltage supply or EMF. So we will be writing it is equal to 0. Okay, loop ABDA will be having this equation according to the loop rule, Kirchhoff's loop rule. That is I2 R2 plus IgG minus I1 R1 is equal to 0. Okay, in this loop, I1 R2 plus IgG plus minus I1 R1. Okay, equal to 0. Now we will be considering the second loop, that is BCDB. Second loop BCDB. Okay, if you are considering the second mesh, that is BCDB, the equations will be, we are starting from B. So in the clockwise direction only. If you are going in the clockwise direction, I4 R4. I4 R4 plus or minus, it will be minus, because at reaching point C we are coming in this direction, that is clockwise, but I3 is in the anti-clockwise direction. So it will be minus of I3 R3, and we are going up again. But if we are going up again, the current is going in the downward direction. Okay, that is in the anti-clockwise direction. So this IgG will be minus only. So minus of IgG. will be equal to 0. Here again there is no supply, so it will be equal to 0. Okay, now we are going to adjust the value of this resistor. Okay, any one value you can adjust. Okay, we are considering that suppose if we are adjusting the value of R3 and making the value of Ig equal to 0. Okay, by adjusting any one of this resistor, you can adjust the value of Ig so that it will become equal to 0. Okay, okay, now here we are going to adjust, that is either this one or this one you can adjust, because if you adjust this value, that is R2 value, okay, for Ig becomes equal to 0 means this should have a greater resistance. Okay, then only there is no current flowing through this one, so that we cannot expect, we can expect only less current in this one. So most probably we will be adjusting these two. Okay, that is either R3 or R4. Okay, by adjusting this any one of them, we can make the current Ig equal to 0, so that no current is passing through this galvanometer. And that condition we will be saying as the balancing condition of the bridge. Okay, what is the balancing condition of the bridge? Balancing condition of Wheatstone's bridge, it is the condition where there is no current flowing through the galvanometer. No current flowing through the galvanometer means there won't be any deflection. Okay, galvanometer is used to find the presence of current. If current is there means this galvanometer will be deflecting, the needle of the galvanometer will be deflecting. If there is no current means it won't be deflecting at all. Okay, so by adjusting the values of the resistor R3 or R4, you can adjust the value Ig. Okay, and you can bring that to 0. Understood? So the Ig will be equal to 0 if the bridge comes in the balanced condition. Okay, suppose that if bridge is balanced. Okay, suppose that if the bridge is balanced, then we can see that Ig will be equal to 0. Okay, if the bridge is balanced, then Ig will be equal to 0. If Ig equal to 0 means, then from these equations this Ig terms will be going right now, then our equations will be becomes I2 R2 minus I1 R1. This will become I2 R2 minus I1 R1 equal to 0. Okay, and the second equation will be becomes I4 R4 minus I3 R3 equal to 0. Right now, from this equation, I4 R4 minus I3 R3, and this term will be equal to 0, equal to 0. Okay, so we can write that from this equation, I2 R2 equal to I1 R1 and I4 R4 equal to I3 R3. Right now, we can directly write I2 R2 is equal to I1 R1 and I4 R4 is equal to I3 R3. And suppose if there is no current flowing through Ig, okay, if there is no current Ig means the current which is going through I2 will be going as I4 as well. Okay, that is I2 will be equal to I4, because if there is no current flowing in between means the current entering through this branch should be completing up to C. Right now, there is no other way that current can be leaked. Okay, only this is the only path for the current. So this I2 will be equal to I4. I2 won't be equal to I4 if Ig is there, because I2 will be splitted into I4 and Ig. If Ig is not there, then I2 will be equal to I4. Similarly, I1 has no other option than going through I3, going through R3. Okay, so I1 will be also equal to I3. So I2 will be equal to I4 as well as I1 will be equal to I3. Okay, so if Ig is equal to 0, if Ig equal to 0, then I1 will be equal to I3 as well as I2 will be equal to I4. Okay, they will be equal only. So we can write that in this equation, that is I2 R2 is equal to I1 R1, as well as here instead of I4 we are substituting I4 is equal to I2, and instead of I3 we are substituting I3 is equal to I1. I2 R4 equal to I1 R3. Let this be equation 1 and this be equation 2. Divide equation 1 by equation 2. Then this I2 will be cancelled. I1 also will be cancelled. So we will be getting R2 by R4 equal to R1 by R3. Okay. Or by rearranging, we can write that R2 by R1 is equal to R4 by R3. Or its reciprocal, that is R1 by R2 is equal to R3 by R4. Understood? It is clear, no? That is the balancing condition of if the bridge is balanced, then this R1 by R2 will be equal to R3 by R4, or R2 by R1 will be equal to R4 by R3. Okay, this is the principle of Wheatstone's bridge. Okay, what we have to do, we have to consider 4 resistors as well as 1 galvanometer which are connected diagonally, and 1 EMF also connected in the other diagonal. Okay, and if key is on, current will be start flowing and it will be splitted into I1, I2 will be splitted into IG and I4, and this IG and I1 will be combining to form I3, and they will be combining back at C, forming I itself. Okay, when if we adjust I4 or I3 such that this Ig equal to 0. Okay, if the value of Ig equal to 0, then what happens is that this I2 current will be equal to I4 and I1 current will be equal to I3. So by applying the Kirchhoff's mesh rule in these two loops, this one as well as this one, we will be getting I2 R2 plus Ig G minus I1 R1 equal to 0. Since there is no EMF, it will be equal to 0. And in the second loop, BCDB, we will be getting I4 R4 minus I3 R3 minus IgG equal to 0. Okay, if the bridge is balanced, bridge balancing means by adjusting any of the value of this resistor, we are making Ig equal to 0. That is, no deflection should be there. If the bridge is balanced. Okay, so Ig will be equal to 0. If Ig equal to 0, from these equations, these Ig terms will be cancelled. So we will be getting I2 R2 is equal to I1 R1 and I4 R4 is equal to I3 R3. Okay, and we found out that if the bridge is balanced, then I1 is equal to I3 and I2 is equal to I4. If that condition is also satisfied, then if we substitute for I4 and I3 as I1 and I2, then we will be getting I2 R2 equal to I1 R1 and I2 R4 is equal to I1 R3. And we are dividing these two equations. Then we will get R2 by R4 is equal to R1 by R3, or R1 by R2 is equal to, rearranging, we will get R1 by R2 is equal to R3 by R4. Okay, and this principle is used to find out if any one of this resistance is unknown, say R3. If we don't know what is the value of R3, okay, or if we don't know the value of R4, okay, by adjusting of this one, okay, any one of the value of this resistor, we can find out what is R4. If we know the other three resistance, we can find out what is R4, right? Now, And this is the principle of meter bridge as well as potentiometer. Okay, meter bridge as well as potentiometer, and we will see how that is working. Okay, I hope you have seen this meter bridge in the lab, right? No, when last time I have let you in the lab, I hope you have seen these things. Okay, this is our Wheatstone's bridge arrangement. No, meter bridge arrangement. It is quite similar to that of our Wheatstone's bridge arrangement. That is, if we are redrawing this one, okay, we have four resistance, that is this one and this one. In these two ones, one will be unknown. Let this X be the unknown resistance and R be the known resistance. Known resistance means that we will be introducing using a resistance box. Okay, all these things I will show you when the class reopens. Okay, thus R is a resistance box. Resistance box is an apparatus in which we can introduce the value of resistance that we like. Okay, by means of these keys. Okay, if you take the keys from the resistance box, then that value will be included as a resistance value. Okay, so we will be connecting a known resistance R, and we have to find out what is the unknown resistance X. Okay, let this be a wire of uniform cross section. Okay, and is having a length of 1 meter. Okay, the length of this wire is 1 meter. That is why it is called a meter bridge. Okay, that is why it is called a meter bridge. Okay, and if you see the structure, I will redraw. Okay, now you just compare these two figures. Okay, these two figures, that is, this resistance R is this one. Okay, this is the point A, the same point A, and from a resistance R is there, and this is point C, and let this be D. Okay, at this point, this is the point C. Another resistance is starting, that is X. It is there, and from the C diagonally, a galvanometer is coming to this point. Diagonally, a galvanometer is coming to this point, that is D. Let here also this point be D, and from this point, it is connected. Okay, and from this resistance X, it is going to the end B. It is going to the end B. From the end A, an EMF positive is connected. From the end A, an EMF positive is connected. From the negative end, a key. From the negative end, one key. From the other end of the key to B. From the other end of the key to B. Okay, this connection is same as that of the Wheatstone's bridge. Okay, Wheatstone's bridge is having the same connection. That is, if you see this one resistance, second one, third and fourth. Here, third and fourth is not drawn. Okay, we know that the resistance of a wire, okay, resistance of a wire is directly proportional to its length. Right now, resistance of a wire will be directly proportional to its length if it is having a uniform cross-sectional area. Okay, this is a wire of uniform cross-sectional area. This will be mainly made up of constantan or manganese. Okay, two substances, two alloys, which are called constantan, or otherwise it will be a wire of manganese. Okay, in our lab it is used as constantan. Okay, the wire which is used as a resistance wire is constantan. Okay, so you know that resistance is directly proportional to length. Okay, so we can write that if R is the resistance per unit length. Okay, if R is the resistance per unit length, then we can say that this R will be equal to small r into L, where the small r is the resistance per unit length. Okay, we know that R is equal to rho L by A. So this rho by A is equal to R. Okay, that R into this L will give you what is the total resistance of this wire. Okay, so we can, instead of this R1 and R2, we can write directly this L1, and if this is of 1 meter length, if this length is having L, then this will be equal to 100 minus L. Right now, if this is L means the rest portion will be equal to 100 minus L. Right now, so what will be the equation? What will be the equation? That is, this one will be our R1, and this will be our R2, R3, and R4. Okay, it will be equal to L by R equal to X by, no, 100 minus L by X. Right now, the equation will be like this only. So if you want to find out what is this R, then R will be equal to L into X by 100 minus L. Right now, if you find out what does this R, then it is will be equal to L into X by 100 minus L. Okay, so the resistance of the unknown material, that is, you will be given a wire of uniform cross-sectional area, and you will be asked to find out what is the resistance of that material as well as what is the resistivity. Okay, that is your second experiment. First experiment is verification of Ohm's law. Second experiment is meter bridge, finding out the resistivity of the material. Okay, then how will you find out? You have, first of all, you have to find out what is the resistance of the material. That resistance will be found out using this method. Okay, how? Thus length you can measure, that is a scale will be attached to this one, so that you can directly see this thing will be corresponding to this much length. So you can measure this length using a meter scale which is attached to the meter bridge. So you will be getting what is L. You can subtract it from 100, so that you will be getting the remaining length also. So this will be your R1 and this will be your R2. Okay, and the unknown resistance is given by L into known resistance X divided by 100 minus L. Okay, this is the equation for finding out an unknown resistance. Okay, if unknown resistance R is known, then you can find out what is resistivity using this equation. Okay, because length you can measure, length of that unknown wire. Okay, a wire will be given, that wire's length you can measure using a scale, and its area of cross section you can find out using a screw gauge. Okay, you will be finding out what is the radius of that wire using a screw gauge that you have done in the last year. Then you can find out what is the area pi r square. Then you can find out what is its resistivity. This resistance into area upon L will give you the resistivity. Okay, and the next experiment is that verifying this combination of this resistors. Okay, that is parallel combination as well as series combination of resistors. In that case, instead of a single resistance wire, you have to install two wires. Okay, first of all, you will be connecting, that is, I will redraw. if this is the first gap, okay, in this experiment you have connected only single wire, single resistance wire. Instead of that, here you will be connecting your first wire like this and the second wire like this, so that you will be getting what is the resistance of the parallel combination. If you want to find out the series combination, then connect the wires like this seriously. Okay, so the resistance of the series combination as well as parallel combination you will be getting. Now you find out what is the resistance of individual wires and check whether your R is equal to R1 plus R2. These are the individual resistance of each wire. Individual resistance can be found out by this method, that is find for R1 as well as find for the 11 only. So we will continue only. Okay, so we were talking about meter bridge, that is the verification of the combination, loss of combination of resistors. For that, first of all, you have to connect the individual resistors, okay, and find out what is their individual resistance, that is R1 and R2, and afterwards you can connect them in parallel as well as series, and you can verify that whether in series combination R is equal to sum of their individual resistance, and in parallel combination 1 by R is equal to 1 by R1 plus 1 by R2. Okay, this is the first two experiments you have to do in the meter bridge section. Okay, that is first one is finding out the resistivity of an unknown resistor as well as verification of law of combination of resistors. Okay, now our next topic is, and the last topic of this chapter is potentiometer. Okay, potentiometer. Potentiometer is very similar to the meter bridge only. Only difference is that it will be having 10 meters of wire. Okay, in a meter bridge we will be having only a single meter of wire, but in a potentiometer you will be having 10 meters of wire. Okay, so they will be arranged in a different manner. In a meter bridge you will be having a wire which is running along the length of that meter bridge apparatus. Okay, but in the case of a potentiometer, a small change will be there, that is this B point. Okay, in a meter bridge A point will be here and B point will be on the other end, but in a potentiometer what happens is that this A and B end will be on the same side. Okay, and this wire will be going like from here to here, and it will be coming back, and it will be going like this: 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, it will be reaching back. So how many meters will be there? This will be 1 meter, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and comes back 10. So a total of 10 meter of wire will be there. Okay, and this will be the length of a potentiometer, that is 1 meter length. Okay, and two ends will be there, A point and B end will be there. Okay, so on this one what we do is that from the A end, okay, from one of the end of this potentiometer we will be connecting the positive terminal. Okay, to the one end we will be connecting the positive terminal of a EMF. Okay, and it will be connected to a key also. From there it will be connected to a rheostat. Okay, from this key it will be connected to a rheostat. What is a rheostat? Rheostat is a variable. Okay, if you slide the slider on the rheostat to a maximum or minimum distance, same principle, that is resistance is directly proportional to length. So if the length increases, then the value of resistance also will be increasing. These things I will show you when you come to the lab. Okay, after reopening, so it will be connected to a rheostat only. Okay, so this is called the primary circuit of a potential. Okay, in a primary circuit, what all things will be there? The potentiometer, an EMF, a key, as well as a rheostat. Okay, this will constitute the primary circuit of the rheostat. And the secondary circuit will be depending upon what experiment you are doing. Okay, the secondary circuit will be depending upon what experiment you are doing with the help of this potentiometer. Potentiometer is mainly used for measuring this potential difference accurately. Okay, it will be giving the accurate potential difference between 2 points, as well as for comparing the EMF of two cells. Okay, if you are having two cells, you can compare the EMF of these cells, as well as for measuring the internal resistance of a cell. Okay, if you want to find out the internal resistance of the cell, you can find out that also using a potentiometer. Okay, so what are the uses of potentiometer? First one is for finding out potential difference. Second one is comparing EMF. Third one is finding the internal resistance of a cell. Okay, in these things you have only these two experiments to do in the practicals. First one is comparing the EMF of a cell, EMF of two cells, as well as finding the internal resistance of a cell. Okay, that is your fourth and fifth experiment. First one is Ohm's law, second and third is meter bridge, resistivity and combination of resistors. Fourth and fifth are comparison of the EMF of two cells, as well as finding out the internal resistance of a cell. Okay, and the principle of potentiometer is same as that of the meter bridge and Wheaton's bridge, that is null deflection method. Okay, null deflection means no deflection at all. There should not be any deflection in the galvanometer. Okay, that means the current which is passing through the galvanometer should be equal to 0. Okay, suppose that there is a steady current I is flowing. Okay, steady current I is flowing through a wire, then the potential difference V. Okay, V will be equal to that current into resistance, right? If this resistance, I can write, as we have seen in the case of meter bridge, that resistance will be equal to resistance per unit length into length. Right now, resistance per unit length into length will be giving you what is the total resistance. So here I can substitute that one, I into RL. This R will be a constant if the area of cross section is uniform. Right now, if the area of cross section of the wire is uniform, then it will be having a specific value of resistivity also. So this R will be a constant. If I is a constant value which is flowing through the wire, means then this potential difference V will be proportional to the length only. Right now, if a current is flowing through a wire, then this potential difference will be proportional to this length of the wire. Okay, this is the basic principle of our first experiment, that is comparison of EMF of two cells. Okay, in comparison of EMF of two cells, what is the difference? What is the external circuit? That is our secondary circuit is that if this is our B point and this is our A point, from the A point, our primary circuit, that is EMF will be there, key will be there, from there a rheostat, from the BN connected to the top portion of the rheostat. Okay, and I am not drawing all those things. I am simply drawing. Suppose that this is the 10-meter wire. Okay, from A to B end. Okay, and from the end which is connected to the positive of the primary circuit. Okay, this is the primary circuit and this is the positive. Okay, from the same end we have to connect to the secondary circuit. Okay, to the positive of the secondary circuit, and this will be connected to a two-way key, and from there a galvanometer and a jockey. Okay, understood? From the point which is connected to the positive of the primary. Okay, this is the primary circuit and this is called the secondary circuit of potentiometer. Okay, the point from the point where which is connected to the positive of the primary circuit, from that point itself you have to connect to the positive of the secondary circuit also. Okay, this is our first cell E1 and this is our second cell E2. Okay, E1 and E2's positive will be connected to the point A only, and from the negatives it will be connected to a two-way key. Okay, two-way key means If you are putting key in this side means this will be connected. So the connection is completed. If you are taking this key and putting here means it will be connected here also. Okay, if you are connecting both means both will be coming at the same time. If you are putting no key means it will be open only. Okay, so only the primary will be connected. Okay, so in this experiment what you have to do is that first primer connect the primary and adjust the current. Okay, and adjust the current to a median level. Okay, after that one by adjusting this rheostat, this is a resistance only. So adjusting the rheostat means you can adjust the value of current also. Okay, and next one is that you just connect your secondary circuit. Okay, after connecting the secondary circuit, put on this key. Okay, and check whether there is deflection in the galvanometer to both sides if you are touching here as well as here. Okay, because there is a point in between A and B, that is along this wire there is a point in between A and B where this G will be showing zero deflection. Okay, G showing zero deflection mean in a galvanometer zero will be at the center and a maximum will be at this point and maximum will be at this point also. So if you are touching at A, if the needle is going to this side means if you are touching at B, this needle should be going to the opposite side since there is a point zero is there in between. Okay, so that is the way to check whether your connections are right or wrong. Okay, after connecting this one, individually check whether E1 and E2 are right or not. Okay, it will happen if this value of E, okay, that is our primary circuit EMF source is having an EMF less than that of our secondary ones. That is E1 and E2 are greater than E means you won't be getting this deflection to both sides. And if any disconnections are there means then again you won't be getting deflection to both sides. So this is the method to check whether your connections are correct or not. Okay, and the values are of E1 and E2 are correct or not. Okay, if you are getting deflection on both sides for E1, now put this key in this section. This is first gap and this is second gap. Put the key in the second gap and check whether these are working or not, working properly. That is, you are getting deflection to both sides or not. Okay, if deflections are coming to the both sides means then okay, it is ready for working. Okay, so what you have to do is that slide this jockey as we have done in the case of meter bridge, slide this jockey. Okay, here you will be finding out you are adjusting this value. This is the resistance we are using externally. Okay, that is our resistance wire. Since it is having a definite length, its value will be fixed. This value also will be fixed. Okay, here we will be sliding this jockey, that is this arrow point tip, that is called the jockey. Okay, from the end A to the end B. Okay, on sliding from A to B, you will get a point where the Ig will be equal to 0. That is current in the galvanometer equal to 0. That is deflection in the galvanometer is 0. Okay, you will be finding out that point. That point will be your L. Okay, similarly, here also you will be sliding this jockey from point A to point B. And in between A and B, you will find a point where the deflection equal to 0. That means no current is flowing through the galvanometer. That is, it will be in a balanced condition. The bridge will be in a balanced condition. Okay, and we know that this potential is directly proportional to length L. Okay, so we can say that E1 will be proportional to L1. Now you remove this key from E1, this first gap, and put it in the second gap. Okay, similarly, you can find another balancing length. If these two cells are different ones, you can find another balancing length for this second gap also. That is for E2 also. So that will be is equal to E2 will be proportional to L2. Okay, so if you divide these two, you can compare what is the ratio of this EMF. E1 by E2 will be equal to L1 by L2. So only by this length you can find out what is the ratio of this EMF. Okay, you can redo this experiment by changing the rheostat value. Okay, if you change the rheostat, then the current will be changing, then this balancing lengths also will be changing. okay, according to the potential, because this I will be changing. If I is changing means this V will be changing, and correspondingly this L will be also changing. Okay, so you will get another pair of L1 and L2, compare that value also again and again. Okay, so if you are getting many large number of large pairs of L1 and L2, then your errors will be very less. Okay, so it will give you what is the ratio of E1 and E2. Understood? Okay, that is your fourth experiment, that is potentiometer comparison of EMF experiment. Now the next one is finding out the internal resistance. Okay, what is the internal resistance of a cell which is given using a potentiometer? In that one also, let this be our potentiometer. From the A end, we will be connecting to a EMF. From there, a key. From there, rheostat. This is our B end. This is our A end. Okay, from the A end, we will be connecting to the cell. Okay, always remember this A end should be connected always to the positive of the cells. Okay, we will be connecting to the positive of the cell. From there, as we have done here, from the positive of the cell, from the negative to a galvanometer, and from there jockey. From the negative to a galvanometer to a jockey. Here we don't need a double way key, because we are not taking two EMFs, we are taking only a single EMF. Okay, and from the positive terminal, you have to take a resistance box. Okay, and one key also. This key is a must one. Okay, that is this key should be there. Okay, without this key, we cannot do this experiment. Whether you connect this key or not, okay, that is up to you. If the EMF you are supporting is having a key means, that is a switch means, then no need of this key. Okay, but whether you connect this key or not, this key is must. Okay, for the second experiment with potentiometer, that is finding out the internal resistance of a cell. Okay, let this be the jockey J. Okay, in this one, we have seen that how to find out the internal resistance of a cell. Right now, what was the equation for finding out the internal resistance? If we know the EMF as well as potential difference, that was equal to EMF minus V by V into R. Okay, do you remember? Let me see where that was. Internal resistance, no? Here, okay, if a potential an EMF is connected to an external resistance, then it will be having E. When it is when it is closed, that is not open, means a current will be flowing. Then across this resistance, we will be getting a potential difference of V. Okay, VR. Then the internal resistance will be equal to E minus VR upon R into R. That is E minus the potential difference between these two ends upon the potential difference between these two ends into this resistance. Okay, same equation here also. Okay, EMF of the cell E1. Okay, not this one, not this E, it is E1. Okay, always remember that there is no need of this EMF in the calculation. This is only for making the potentiometer active. Okay, the primary setup is only for making the potentiometer active. Okay, here we will be using this E1 is the EMF of this cell, because you are going to find out what is the EMF internal resistance of this one. So you need the EMF of this cell, that is E1. Now you will be finding out what is the this one, balancing length. Okay, what is the potential difference if a resistance R is connected? Okay, so you have to find out what is the potential if R is not connected as well as when R is connected. That is while this key is open as well as while this key is closed also. Okay, if this key is open means then only E1 will be there. Corresponding to E1, there will be a length according to this equation. That is E1 is proportional to L1. Okay, according to that equation, if this key is not connected means this part is not there. So according to this E1, a balancing length will be there. So we can write that E1 will be proportional to L1. As well as if you connect this key, that is if this key is closed means this resistance is included. So the potential will be dropping at this resistance also. And that potential will be, since it is connected in parallel, this potential will be given here also. Okay, so according to that one, this V will be proportional to the second balancing length. Vishal, are you lying down? Yogi Adityanath, your video is on. Okay, thank you. Okay, so this V, that is a potential difference between these ends of the resistor, will be equal to the balancing length itself, since there is a potential drop here. Okay, since these all things are connected in parallel, the potential difference will be equal. So that potential difference will be equal, proportional to the second length, that is L2. Okay, so we can substitute here, that is instead of E1 we can substitute L1. Instead of V2 we can substitute L2. L1 minus L2 into L2 into R. L1 minus L2 upon L2 into R will be equal to the internal resistance of the cell. Okay, this is the equation for finding out the internal resistance of a cell. Okay, and E1 will be proportional to the balancing length when there is no key is connected in this one. That is, this is not there. Okay, E2 is L2 is the balancing length when this key is closed. Okay, then this one will be coming in the circuit only. Okay, so the potential difference will be different. That will be equal to V, a reduced length. That will be giving you L2, a reduced length. Okay, a reduced potential will give you a reduced length. So you will be getting a positive value only here, because L2, L1 minus L2. L1 will be always greater because EMF will be always greater than that of the potential. Okay, so L1 minus L2 upon L2 into R. That is this external resistance that you will be giving using a this resistance box. So you can find out what is the value that you are giving. So that value into L1 minus L2 upon L2 will give you the internal resistance of a cell. Okay, so this is the fifth experiment, that is finding out the internal resistance using a potentiometer. And now our chapter ends here, as well as the topics also. Okay, so tomorrow we will be doing the numericals of the second chapter. Okay, so just go through the second chapter, and tomorrow no need of muting your audios, because I will be asking questions, so you have to answer the question. The one I am calling have to answer the questions. So tomorrow everyone should be present, and tomorrow I will be giving you the list of experiments that we are doing, so you can write the theory part of those ones and you can draw the observation columns also. Okay, so when you come to the lab you have to only fill those columns. Okay, no need of writing all these things while you are doing the experiment, so you can save your time also. Understood? As well you can study for the study these experiments also. Okay.